How we going, guys? It's another live Hoggs vlog, and Nick Hill, how you going? Aditya, good to see you again. We've got Jatin on board as well. Aaron, Dr. Chetan, how you going? Jatin, Devish, Sunak, how you going? Vashnev, thanks very much all for joining. And this test match is alive and well. I'm thinking that there's going to be a result out the end of it. There's plenty of cricket to be played today. With this ball moving around, the sunshine's going to be out. Finally, we're going to get a full day's play. So New Zealand in the box seat for me, and I'll tell you why after we roll the bumper. Righty-o. Well, New Zealand are behind by 32 runs. So India have lost two quick wickets last night. Rohit Sharma just before stumps was a crucial wicket for New Zealand to get. But the one thing that I loved about that particular moment was Virat Kohli not going for the night watchman when he could have. In tough conditions, he went out and led his troops from the front, and he wanted to make a statement to the New Zealand bowlers that he was not scared of them, was not shy. He wanted to set himself up for a big innings today. Now, let's go through the talking points that I have for you. Shami, the little change that he made yesterday from the previous day that he bowled, he was a little bit fuller. Not too much fuller. He was still on that good length, but it wasn't as short as on that previous day. And what that did, it started to create some chances for him in those LBs, bowls, as well as the caught behinds. I just loved his change of pace as well. His aggression with the short pitch ball, it was directed out the head. He put a lot of pressure on the New Zealand batsman, and I just felt the other two bowlers bowled well in Bumrah and Ishant Sharma, but they didn't create as much pressure as what Shami was. So Shami was the pick of the bowlers out of the Indian pace attack. And one thing just before we go on to the next point was Ashwin, just with the left-handed batsman out the end there, change of pace, but when he slowed it up, he had still that turn and bounce. He got the edge of Wagner, and the pitch is turning there. Remember, it's going to be sunny. It's going to be dried. A drying wicket today. He could come into effect if India get enough runs on the board to put New Zealand in. So, India will be in two minds today of how to go about it. Do they set a total for New Zealand, or do they just try and play for the draw? So if they set a total, they've got to give New Zealand around about 4 and over to chase. If they give them anything less than that, New Zealand will go right over the top of them. So whether it's 20 overs, 30 overs, 4 and over, that would just give a little bit of temptation to New Zealand to go after it. But remember, yes, we can go down that 20 over path or 2020 cricket, but New Zealand don't have 2020 players in their lineup. They've really only got Conway, Latham, who bats down the order every now and then in T20 cricket, and probably Jamieson as their big hitters, those aggressive hitters that can go after the bowling quite aggressively. So that's something that India have got to have in the back of the mind, and if they do go after the runs, it creates those wicket-taking opportunities. So India still slightly in this game, but if anyone's going to win it, it's all New Zealand, because they can decide if they bowl India out whether they can go after the runs and they're going to be comfortable going after the runs, or they just bat out for a draw. So that's where I see the game being placed today. New Zealand are the only team that can really have a big chance of winning it unless something silly happens. And how that happens is they bowl India out and then chase down those runs. As simple as that. So let's go into the questions. And I'm so glad I got that out before the 5-minute mark, because we've got so many questions that are going to come in today with the big finale of the World Test Championship final. Austin Dacuna, how are you going, mate? Great to see you on board. Should Pant be promoted ahead of Rahane if Virat and Pujara get a partnership so that India can give New Zealand a target of 220 and bowl them out in 45, 50 overs with pressure of final and fourth innings. For me, Austin, I think that's a very, very good idea. If you want to put the pressure back on New Zealand, you want to set the game up for a chance of a win. You want one of your most aggressive batsmen out there. And if it falls apart, then you've got Ajinkya Rahane to come back in after Pant and just hold the innings up and try and just bat for time and put the pressure back on New Zealand and give them as least amount of overs to chase a total if they do get bowled out. So I think India right now could take a risk of bringing Pant up the order, bat him next, and allow him to go after the bowling. And if he comes off, it sets it up for a good finale for India, gives them a big chance of winning this final. If it doesn't come off, well, they've still got a chance of batting time. And remember, you might even think about not just bringing Pant up, but even just bringing Jadeja up as well. Just give yourself a real good opportunity in achieving a result in this particular test match. So, Austin, that is a very good observation. Next question, please, Shubs. Mohammad Farhan. New Zealand scored 85 runs for the last 4 wickets, whereas India scored only 12 runs. Why don't Indian tailenders bat like New Zealand, and why don't Indian bowlers bowl tailenders out cheaply? Well, you've got to remember that the New Zealand tail, Jamieson for one, started out as a batsman. Southey can hold the bat as well, and Wagner is very handy with the bat. So they've got extra batting depth than what India has. The Indian pace attack really don't have that batting strength. So that's one weakness that India have going into this particular match. It's just all about talent. It's not about it's not about the Indian bowlers not being good as the New Zealand bowlers bowling the Indian tail out. So you've got to give credit where credit's due, and that's the way that the New Zealand tail work on their batting. And they've all had, or they all started their careers as players that could bat up the order in their club arena. So, and the Indian batsmen have never been able to, or the Indian tail have never been able to do that. But that is a big statement there too, Mohammed. One thing that I want to push on with this is that late in that innings of New Zealand, the New Zealand tail went after the Indian fast bowlers, and they were hitting them off that good length. The reason why they were able to do that is because the Indian bowlers were starting to falter, were starting to feel a little tired. They weren't getting the zip through the wicket. They seemed to be getting the heavy legs, and that's because they didn't have the workload behind them going into this test match like the New Zealand bowlers. Remember, New Zealand played 2 test matches before this game. India played none. They've just coming off the T20 circuit in the IPL. They've been playing those inter-squad games. So really, they haven't had the workload where they've been out there 5 days walking around, then bowling. So that's another reason why the New Zealand tailenders made a big impact. So good observation there, Mohammed. I like the way that you got those stats up too. Beautiful stuff. Next question, please, Shubs. Hashikesh Patil, how are you going? What should be India's approach today? Well, I agree with the first question that came in today. I think they should bring Pant up the order, bat him if they lose a wicket, either of Pujara and Kohli, and try and set a total for New Zealand. Basically, it's been a very hard-fought test match. It's been good cricket, strong cricket. It's been a good spectacle and advertisement for test cricket moving forward. We've got to try and get a result somehow, and the only way that India can do this is bringing Pant up, let him play aggressively, and if he gets quick runs, that gives India's bowlers more time to bowl New Zealand out. Remember, the longer this game goes for, 30 overs chasing 220 rather than 50 overs chasing 220 is going to be a bigger temptation, a bigger carrot for New Zealand to chase. So very good question there. Mr. Patel, thanks very much for joining me. Hope you have a great day too, mate. Next question too, please, Shubs. Hi, Hoggy. This is from Sandesh. Swami. Shubs, we're going to have to talk about how we pronounce that particular name after this, because that is a Sadeshi. Don't you think ICC should make this a timeless test going forward, since it is a World Test Championship final and a winner is required? Swami, I think you are on the money there. I did a vlog before the World Test Championship saying that we probably should have a timeless test match. Remember, many moons ago, I think South Africa, England played the last timeless test match. I think there's been 99 of them played. It would have been a great initiative to bring the 100th timeless test match into the fray by playing it in this World Test Match Championship final. For me, I think you're right there. A timeless test to finish off a good 2 years of hard-fought test cricket gives the particular top two teams a reward of playing something different, something special, and it gives the viewers something different as well. Yes, we can have a 3 test match series, but I don't really like, if you're going to have a final, I don't want to see 3 test matches, because if one team wins 2 test matches and then you've got to play the 3rd test match for advertisers and for other stakeholders in the game, it becomes a lost cause. So for me, a World Test Championship final that is a timeless test is the perfect way to go, and I'm glad you're on board with that, Swami. Okay, next question please, Shubs. Arun Chowdhury, how are you going, mate? If you have to rate the chances of all 3 results in percent, what would it be? For me, I think the draw would be about... Well, this is me personally. The way that Williamson started to up the ante when just before he got out yesterday, you could just see the intent there that he wanted to get ahead of the game, and he is after the win. Virat Kohli's after the win. So for me, I think New Zealand winning this game is about 40%. India winning the game is about 20%. And what's that? 40% for a draw. So for me, there's a lot to play for, and I think these 2 teams are going to go after the win, and that's why I think the draw percentage compared to everyone else has come down on my rating. And I'm looking at this as on an optimistic view. I think we've got to have a result, because we want the World Test Championship final, or the World Test Championship concept, to have some impetus moving forward. We've got to have that positive result. We can't have 2 teams holding the first cup. It's not on for me. Okay, good question there, Arun. Next question, please, Shubs. The Indian. How are we going? That's a nice photo you've got there too. Should Bumrah be removed for playing 11 for England Test, as he's not able to find correct line and length, nor able to find the much required swing? Look, that's going to be a question that they're going to have moving forward. Remember that they've got a couple of weeks off, 4 weeks to 6 weeks, I think it is, before that first test match. So they've got plenty of time to sort things out. I think Bumrah, just with that slingy action that he has, where it's just a catapult out the bowling crease, doesn't allow him to really control that seam as much as the likes of Shami and Ishant Sharma, even Siraj for that matter, because they've got a more rhythmic run up and flow through the crease. So I think that's something that Bumrah can work out moving forward. But in saying that, I just think it might be a case of utilising Bumrah a little bit differently. So you've got Shami and Ishant Sharma utilising the new ball, trying to get it to swing, and then in the latter overs when it's swinging, those 2 operating as much as possible, and Bumrah coming in for an impact type role where he can bowl with that extra pace. Remember, you've got the 2 spinners there too that can hold up one end and bowl some tight line of length. So I still think Bumrah in that team provides a little bit more balance. So but I'd like to see Siraj in there at some stage, but it would be a big call to bring Siraj in front of Bumrah. Would the Indian selectors do it? I'm not sure whether they'll do it in the first 2 test matches. It would be a bold move, but I can see a case for Siraj playing in front of Bumrah there. And yeah, if I was selecting the team, I'd probably go that way. And I'd also look at the position of Ishant Sharma as well, considering that the England batting lineup, how many left-handers are they going to have in their lineup as well? So it could be Bumrah or Sharma that miss out for Siraj going into that England Test series. But that's a very, very good observation there, the Indian. Bumrah is under pressure going into that England series for his spot in the team. I totally agree with you. Next question, please, Shubs. Avish Reddy, thanks very much for your little contribution there. It's obviously that it ends in a draw with 90%. Well, I kind of disagree with you. If not, New Zealand wins, but no chance at all for India unless some miracle happens. I'm from USA, Indian. I hope all is well over there in the USA, and you're enjoying the cricket on the coverage there. And there's talk that cricket over in the USA is starting to lift as well. So hopefully they get on board and start making an impact over the next decade, because it would be great to see them coming up and playing against the likes of Australia and India as well as England, because they've got such a huge population over there. But the draw, 90%, I don't agree with that. I still think there's a lot of movement with the ball, both in the air and off the pitch. Shami found his right length. We've seen Jamieson find his length in that first innings, as well as Southey find the length as well. I think there's a lot of wicket-taking opportunities, and I just think there's going to be a collapse at some stage in this final day. It has to be. It's been such a pressure cracker type of a game, and the envelope's going to open somewhere and wickets are just going to tumble, and one of these two teams is going to win in a flurry. So for me, I think it's quite tough to have the draw at 90%. I think New Zealand, as I said before, out 40%, India out 20%, and the draw's probably at a 40% range out this present moment. But it's all in New Zealand's hands at the moment to take this win. Good question. Good point there, Avish. Eddie Pandya, how are you going? Where should be the next World Test Championship final be held? For me, I think it's got to be on a neutral venue. If it's two Asian teams, I think we should have it in, obviously, in the subcontinent somewhere. If it's two English teams or two Western teams, I think we've got to have it either in New Zealand, South Africa, England or Australia. But if it's two Western teams, I think we've got to use the Duke ball. If it's two Asian teams, they choose the ball that they think is right for spinning conditions on that particular arena. So for me, it depends the two teams that are coming in. If it's an Asian team and a Western team, we've had the first final between those two on a Western surface. I think it should be on an Asian surface next time. So somewhere like Mumbai would be a great venue, or even the biggest stadium. I think it's in Ahmedabad. I've just got a bit of a blank there. Shubs, is that right? Ahmedabad, the 110,000 seat stadium? If not, put it up what stadium it is, please, because I think that could be the perfect venue for a World Test Championship final as well. Good question there, Adi Pandya. Next question, please, Shubs. Oh, Shubs, you there? Shubs, you there? Ahmedabad is correct, Hoggy. Thanks very much for that. I got it right. Actually, while Shubs is getting your the next question up, thanks for that, Addy. I'm just going to show you something here. This is Barney, okay? Now, this has been with me since I played in the World Cup in 2003. Jason Gillespie gave it to me. It's got his little signature on there. And, right, why Barney? Look at the nose. Yep, that's why they were doing it, trying to get the nose like mine there. So that's a little Barney up there. I'll try and put him in a different place every now and then. Okay, you're back with us, Shubs. Thanks very much. Jatinder Bindra. I think India should play 4 pacers and 1 spinner in England. Your view? I totally agree with you, but who's going to be the 4th pacer? Because Ashwin or Jadeja in the spinning department going forward, which spinner are you going to use in that particular department? Because if you go Ashwin, you take away a little bit of batting dominance. If you go Jadeja, you take away a little bit of bowling dominance. So that's going to be the tough one. Or do you play another spinner in your squad where you might bring in a leg spinner? So for me, it would be great to get Hardik Pandya back in there to give you that batting depth to be the four-seamer, but I just don't think his body can hold up. So if you're going to play four-seamers, you're going to have to go Jadeja batting out number 7 as your fifth bowling option. It depends where you play. It depends what the weather's going to be like through that particular period. If it's like it is right now in Southampton, wherever they play those test matches, I think you're right, four-seamers and play Jadeja as the spinner. But if it looks as though the heat is out and it's going to be warm conditions, I still think you go 3 pacers and 2 spinners. But that's a very good observation, Jatinder Bindra. If you had Hardik Pandya, well, then you only play 1 spinner. But because you don't have a fast bowler over there that can handle the bat, hang on. Thakur. I forgot about Thakur because there's so much talk about Siraj. Someone like a Thakur could play as your 4th pacer and have Ashwin batting out 7. So then you've got Ashwin and Thakur that are holding up that void of extra batting depth. So yes, 4 pacers with Thakur in there, and I'd go with Siraj, Shami and Bumrah as well as Thakur, because Thakur's giving you that extra swing option. Bumrah will give you that pace option. So Ishant Sharma I'd remove, because I just think he's coming out the end of his tether where he's starting to get a few more injuries and he's not getting that pace of what we knew before. Good question there, Jatinder. Okay, next question please, Shubs. Yash Singla, how are you going? Do you think Bhuvi is the biggest miss for India? Bhuvi's not available at the moment. He's had a lot of injury problems. The talent that he has moving the ball on English conditions is probably one thing that India do definitely miss. But we can't control the fate of a person's body, and it'd be a huge risk to play him in such an event right now in the World Test Championship. But hopefully he gets back fit on the park. And if he does, it just adds extra strength to that Indian bowling lineup and provides them something that they're actually missing, someone who can swing the ball consistently both ways. Ishant Sharma, he's really only got a one-trick pony. Yes, he's got the extra height, but he mainly swings it in with a straighter one, whereas Bhuvi can swing it both ways, and that will just add extra potency in the bowling department in English conditions. So if he can get fit over the next couple of weeks, it might be worth trying to fly him over into England and try and get him fit to play him the latter part of the series against England in that Test series. Good question there, Yash. I like the way that you brought that one in. Shubs. Yep. Gurdeep Singh, how you going? Do you think the ICC totally failed in conduct World Test Championship final? What I'm thinking about here is only having one reserve day. I think they could have had 2 reserve days, but the conduct of taking it away from Lords down to Southampton as well, I think you could be discussing that. So I think the World Test Championship final, the ICC could have had a scenario where they had an extra couple of days of reserve days because you want to make sure that you get a result. So that's one thing that they could have done. Taking it away from Lords down to Southampton, I think with the scenario of what's happening on or going on around the world at this stage, you did not want to leave the door open for an opportunity for the World Test Championship final to be called off. So that would have been out Lords, the players staying in a venue away from the ground, and it would have created a lot of issues to get the game up and running. So I think they made the decision a couple of months ago to have it down in Southampton because they've got the hotel on the ground. I think they made the right decision there then and there, because they wanted to make sure if governments got involved, other stakeholders got involved where there was going to be some issues, they were trying to negate any issue to prevent this game happening. So I think the ICC haven't done anything wrong by scheduling it in Southampton. But one thing they have done wrong is not scheduling extra reserve days over in England. Now, guys, that was fantastic. The questions were sensational. I hope you are all safe. But we've got one hell of a cricket game on our hands. The final day of this test match is going to be an absolute cracker. It's not all over yet. New Zealand are in the box seat, favourites to win this game, but don't be surprised if there's a collapse one way or the other. But one of these two teams, I think, are going to win this test match. Well, I hope they do. But anyway, enjoy it, guys. Thanks very much for joining me on Hoggs Vlog.